Right now, hidden beneath your carefully constructed persona, beneath the smiles, beneath the polite conversations, beneath the mask you wear to feel safe in the world, exists something powerful, something potent, something deeply transformative. Carl Jung called this hidden force the shadow self. And the shadow self is not what you've been led to believe. It's not some dark, malevolent entity lurking to sabotage your life. It's not something to fear, repress, or run from. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. It's the very thing that holds the power to heal you, to transform your pain into purpose, your wounds into wisdom, and your weaknesses into your greatest strengths. But how could something you've spent your entire life hiding possibly heal you? To understand this, you first have to understand exactly what the shadow self is, and why it's been buried in the dark corners of your psyche. Your shadow is everything you've rejected in yourself, every quality, every emotion, every desire that you've learned is unacceptable, shameful, or unsafe. It's your anger, your sadness, your envy, your lust, your selfishness. It's every impulse you've hidden because society taught you they were wrong or bad. But it's also your brilliance, your creativity, your courage, your authenticity, qualities you've often buried because others found them intimidating or threatening. The shadow is the storehouse of everything you once believed you needed to exile in order to be accepted. Why does this matter? Because everything you've repressed doesn't disappear. It goes underground, into the unconscious, where it quietly shapes your life from behind the scenes. The relationships that crumble repeatedly, the goals you consistently sabotage, the unexplained anxiety or depression, the sudden bursts of anger or deep waves of sadness. All of these are signals from your shadow, desperately trying to get your attention. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." But this fate isn't destiny, it's unconscious self-sabotage. It's you, unknowingly keeping yourself stuck because you're afraid of the parts of yourself you've hidden away. Think about the patterns that have haunted your life. The same conflicts, the same heartbreaks, the same frustrations that seem to replay endlessly, no matter how hard you try to change. These aren't random misfortunes. They're reflections of your shadow self, projections of the unintegrated parts of you begging to be acknowledged and healed. Healing begins the moment you stop running from your shadow and start turning toward it. The very act of acknowledging it, simply admitting to yourself, "This anger is mine, this envy is mine, this grief is mine," is profoundly transformative. Because the shadow isn't here to torment you. It's here to guide you back to the parts of yourself you've forgotten, the parts you need to reclaim in order to become whole. But this confrontation isn't easy. It requires courage, the kind of bravery that few people ever summon. Because facing your shadow means confronting truths you've spent years avoiding. It means looking directly at the pain you've numbed, the anger you've suppressed, and the desires you've judged as shameful or impossible. Yet, this is precisely why it's healing. Facing your shadow strips away illusion. It shatters the masks you've worn, revealing the authentic self beneath, raw, real, powerful. And when this happens, you no longer live a life driven by unconscious fears and compulsions. You begin living consciously, intentionally, authentically. Think about anger, one of the emotions most people bury in their shadow. Society often teaches you that anger is destructive, aggressive, inappropriate. So you suppress it, smile through gritted teeth, deny your boundaries, and ignore your own needs. But the anger never leaves. It simmers beneath the surface, erupting unexpectedly, damaging relationships, or turning inward into depression or anxiety. But what if anger, reclaimed from your shadow, isn't destructive at all? What if, integrated consciously, anger becomes clarity? Boundaries? Self-respect? Anger, when owned and honored, can become the fire that protects your integrity, that says clearly, "Enough. This isn't okay. My needs matter." Or consider envy. We're told envy is toxic, shameful, something good people shouldn't feel. So you deny it, hide it, and pretend you're content, even while your heart aches for something more. Yet envy, if faced honestly, becomes insight. It reveals clearly what you truly desire, what your soul yearns for. Envy owned consciously is no longer bitterness, it's motivation, inspiration, the clarity of knowing exactly where your authentic passion lies. This is the paradox Jung understood deeply. Everything you've been taught to reject in yourself, every emotion labeled as negative, every desire labeled as selfish, every trait labeled as unacceptable, holds within it a hidden gift, a transformative power. Your shadow is not here to curse you, but to heal you. It's here to return you to the truth you've buried. When you finally embrace the shadow, you stop being a victim of unconscious compulsions. You stop self-sabotaging, stop repeating painful patterns, stop feeling trapped by your own life. You begin to reclaim the energy you've spent suppressing your truth, redirecting it toward living fully, authentically, passionately. The exhaustion you've felt trying to maintain your persona, the constant effort to appear strong, happy, successful, falls away, because the shadow integration returns to you the energy you've used to suppress it. You're no longer divided against yourself, no longer hiding half of who you are. You become whole, complete, aligned. And in this alignment, something profound happens. Life stops being an endless struggle. It doesn't become free of challenges, but it becomes meaningful. Challenges become opportunities, triggers become invitations, pain becomes purpose. Your wounds become wisdom, your weaknesses become strengths, your darkness becomes the source of your greatest power. Carl Jung knew intimately that the deepest healing happens not by seeking the light alone, but by making peace with the darkness within. By reclaiming the very parts of yourself you've denied, you become authentically whole, profoundly powerful, genuinely alive. This is the hidden truth Jung revealed. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It isn't something to conquer, banish, or fear. It's your greatest ally, your wisest teacher, your truest guide. And when you finally embrace it, fully and without reservation, you discover the healing you've always been searching for, not in some distant ideal, but deep within yourself. This is the transformative power Carl Jung understood. This is the profound healing potential of your shadow. And it's waiting, right now, for you to turn toward it, acknowledge it, and finally reclaim all that you are. Facing your shadow is not a one-time event, nor is it something you do casually. It's an ongoing relationship, a dance between your conscious mind and the unconscious forces that shape your existence. But once you begin this journey, you start to realize something extraordinary. Your shadow has been waiting patiently your entire life, not to haunt you, but to heal you. Think about it. Every aspect of yourself you were forced to hide, every emotion labeled inappropriate, every desire deemed selfish or dangerous. Where do they go? They didn't vanish. They sunk into your unconscious, became part of your shadow, and waited for a moment, sometimes years, even decades, when you were finally strong enough to face them. This is where the healing truly begins. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." Think about the aspects of yourself you've suppressed. The more you ignore them, the stronger they become. The more fiercely you deny your anger, the more intense its explosions become. The more tightly you conceal your sadness, the heavier it weighs upon you. The more desperately you hide your vulnerability, the more isolated and lonelier you feel. But this works both ways. Because when you stop resisting, when you finally turn toward the shadow, acknowledge its existence, and embrace its presence, something remarkable happens. Its power over you begins to fade. Not because you destroyed it, but precisely because you acknowledged it. You saw it clearly. You honored it. It sounds paradoxical. The very things you believed would weaken you, your anger, your grief, your fears, your desires, become the very source of your strength once integrated. Because here's the secret Jung discovered. The shadow contains not just pain, but immense creative energy. The shadow holds your authenticity, your power, your true voice. It's where your wholeness has been waiting patiently to be reclaimed. Take fear, for instance. Fear is an emotion most of us spend our entire lives running from. We numb it, deny it, mask it with bravado or false confidence. We pretend we're fearless because society rewards strength and punishes vulnerability. But fear, hidden in your shadow, doesn't vanish. It festers, turning into anxiety, insecurity, and paralysis. Yet fear, once brought into the light, becomes intuition. It becomes wisdom. It becomes courage. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act in spite of fear. It's the strength you build each time you face what scares you and find yourself still standing afterward. Fear, consciously integrated, guides you to exactly what you need to face in order to grow. Or consider grief, the deep sadness society often urges us to move past or get over. Unprocessed grief, pushed into the shadow, becomes depression, bitterness, or an inability to connect deeply with others. But grief, honored and fully felt, heals. It opens the heart, it deepens your capacity for empathy, and it reveals what truly matters. Grief, consciously embraced, becomes the doorway to profound compassion, to authentic love, and to emotional resilience. The shadow isn't just emotions, either. It holds qualities and strengths you've hidden because they felt unsafe or unacceptable. Perhaps you've hidden your assertiveness because it was labeled bossy. Maybe you suppressed your creativity because it felt impractical or your family never valued it. Or perhaps you denied your sensuality, your joy, your laughter because someone once shamed you for expressing them freely. But these suppressed qualities don't vanish. They return as envy, resentment, numbness, or a vague sense of dissatisfaction. The shadow, ignored, keeps you from living your fullest life. But the moment you reclaim these qualities, once you allow yourself to be assertive, creative, sensual, joyful, you become whole. You become fully alive. Carl Jung knew the power of this reclamation. He wrote extensively about how integrating the shadow heals the deepest wounds of the psyche. Because the wounds we carry are rarely from external events alone, they're from the internal abandonment of ourselves. Each time we reject a part of ourselves to please others or to meet external expectations, we create a wound. And the only way to truly heal that wound is to reclaim the very part of yourself you rejected. This reclamation is powerful. It's transformative. It requires bravery, true bravery. Because reclaiming your shadow isn't about simply saying, "I accept myself." It's about radically embodying all the parts of yourself that once scared you or felt unsafe to express. It's about setting boundaries clearly, without apology. It's about speaking your truth, even when your voice shakes. It's about embracing your vulnerability, even when it terrifies you. Your shadow teaches you authenticity, not as a concept, but as a lived reality. Because authenticity isn't performing your personality. It's not curating yourself for acceptance. Authenticity is showing up exactly as you are, shadow and all, and refusing to abandon yourself ever again. This healing isn't theoretical, it's deeply practical. It transforms your relationships. Because now, you're no longer hiding behind masks or personas. You're showing up fully, honestly, authentically. You're clear about your boundaries, not to push others away, but to respect yourself deeply. You communicate openly, vulnerably, not because it's easy, but because it's true. Your work transforms. Because now, you're not performing a role, you're expressing your truth. You stop chasing external validation, because you've finally validated yourself. You create from passion, purpose, and clarity, not from insecurity, anxiety, or compulsion. Even your physical health improves dramatically, because you no longer carry the tension of suppressed emotions or hidden truths. Your nervous system relaxes, your breathing deepens, your energy flows freely. You sleep better, your stress decreases. You become physically and emotionally resilient, not by avoiding pain, but by feeling it fully, clearly, consciously. But perhaps most profoundly, integrating your shadow heals your relationship with yourself. You no longer view yourself as broken, flawed, or needing fixing. You recognize yourself as deeply human, profoundly real, and unquestionably worthy. Your self-worth stops being conditional upon achievement or external approval. It becomes inherent. You become your own greatest ally. Carl Jung believed deeply in the healing power of integrating the shadow. He knew the greatest act of self-love wasn't affirmations or superficial positivity, but the willingness to face your darkness fully, courageously, and compassionately. He knew the shadow wasn't something to escape, but something to embrace. Because when you finally embrace your shadow, you become whole. You become authentically yourself. You heal at the deepest possible level, not by eliminating pain, but by integrating every part of yourself that you once abandoned. This is the profound healing power Carl Jung discovered, and it's waiting within your shadow, right now, for you to claim it. When you finally decide to face your shadow directly, you discover something remarkable. It's been communicating with you your entire life. Not through words, not through logic, but through symbols, dreams, and emotional triggers. It speaks in the language of intuition, synchronicity, and emotional intensity. The very things you often dismissed as coincidence, irrationality, or emotional overreaction were actually messages from the depths of your unconscious, guiding you toward healing. Think about your dreams, those surreal, intense images and scenarios that linger long after you wake. Carl Jung understood dreams as powerful windows into your unconscious, direct channels through which your shadow communicates clearly. Those dreams you've ignored or brushed off as meaningless were anything but. They're coded messages, carrying deep truths about the parts of yourself you've abandoned or suppressed. Consider recurring dreams or persistent nightmares. These aren't random. They're the psyche's desperate attempts to grab your attention. Dreams of running away or being chased aren't just subconscious fears. They're your shadow signaling that you've been fleeing from aspects of yourself for far too long. Dreams of confrontation, fights, or conflicts aren't just random stress. They're your psyche urging you to face suppressed anger, resentment, or boundaries you haven't set. Jung believed that embracing and analyzing your dreams could accelerate your shadow integration and healing immensely. By listening closely, by recording your dreams, interpreting their symbols, and reflecting on their emotional intensity, you gain direct access to the parts of yourself you've long denied. Dreams reveal truths your conscious mind often refuses to acknowledge openly. Emotional triggers are another powerful language your shadow uses to speak to you. Those moments when someone else's behavior creates an intense, visceral reaction and you aren't random irritations. They're mirrors reflecting aspects of yourself you've suppressed. When someone else's assertiveness irritates you deeply, it's often your shadow highlighting your own buried assertiveness, urging you to reclaim it. When someone else's vulnerability or openness makes you uncomfortable, it's your shadow reminding you of your own buried need for connection and emotional intimacy. Every trigger is an invitation, not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Your triggers point directly to the qualities you most need to integrate. They show you clearly what you've hidden, what you've rejected, and what must be reclaimed if you're ever to be fully whole. This clarity transforms your relationships dramatically. Instead of blaming others or feeling victimized by your emotions, you become deeply curious. You start to ask yourself, why is this reaction so strong? What within me is asking for attention and healing? This simple shift, from blame to curiosity, is profoundly transformative. It changes how you relate to others, how you communicate, how you set boundaries. It heals relationships because you stop projecting your unconscious wounds onto others. Your shadow also communicates through intuition, those subtle, inexplicable feelings you've learned to dismiss or ignore. Society often dismisses intuition as irrational, unreliable, or unscientific. But intuition is your shadow speaking clearly, guiding you toward authenticity, alignment, and wholeness. Those subtle feelings of unease, hesitation, excitement, or certainty aren't random. They're your psyche's deepest wisdom emerging from the unconscious. Jung knew intuition as one of the shadow's most powerful forms of guidance. When you trust your intuition, when you honor its messages, you heal deeply. You stop betraying yourself. You stop overriding your own instincts to please others or maintain false harmony. You start living a life guided by your deepest truth, rather than external expectations or pressures. Even synchronicities, the uncanny coincidences you've noticed but struggled to explain, are ways your shadow communicates. Jung defined synchronicities as meaningful coincidences connecting your inner world with your outer experience. They're moments when the unconscious becomes undeniably visible, nudging you toward deeper awareness and healing. Think about those times when you randomly encountered exactly what you needed at precisely the right moment. Maybe it was a book that suddenly appeared and spoke directly to your situation. Maybe it was meeting someone who provided exactly the insight or encouragement you required. These aren't random accidents, they're synchronicities, clear signs from your unconscious guiding you toward integration and authenticity. By becoming aware of these subtle communications, dreams, triggers, intuition, synchronicities, you enter a profound partnership with your shadow. Instead of fighting or fleeing, you begin co-creating your healing. You start living consciously, intentionally, attuned deeply to your inner wisdom. You become whole, not by banishing darkness, but by embracing it fully. This is the deeper healing Jung understood intimately. He knew that true healing isn't found in external solutions or superficial positivity, but through inner communion with all parts of yourself. The conscious and unconscious, the light and dark. The shadow doesn't sabotage you. It guides you. It doesn't punish you. It instructs you. Every difficult emotion, every challenging situation, Every inner conflict is a call toward deeper integration, deeper authenticity, deeper healing. And when you honor these calls, when you turn toward your shadow fully, you begin reclaiming all the power you once lost. You reclaim the strength of your boundaries, the depth of your intuition, the clarity of your desires. You reclaim your creativity, your authenticity, your joy. You reclaim your freedom, not freedom from pain, but freedom to face pain consciously, clearly, and courageously. This integration doesn't remove life's challenges, but it completely transforms your relationship with them. Challenges no longer weaken you, they strengthen you. Setbacks no longer derail you, they deepen you. Conflict no longer wounds you, it clarifies your truth, your boundaries, your desires. Every experience becomes fuel for your growth, nourishment for your soul, guidance for your highest path. You stop seeking external validation because you've found internal alignment. You stop fearing judgment because you've accepted yourself fully. You stop chasing external markers of success because you've defined your own meaning clearly. You stop fearing your own darkness because you know intimately it holds your greatest wisdom. This is the deep healing Carl Jung dedicated his life to teaching. He knew the shadow wasn't something to outrun, but something to embrace fully. He understood clearly that the darkness you fear most within yourself contains precisely the healing you've always sought. And now, it's your turn to understand this deeply. Your turn to stop running, stop hiding, stop suppressing. It's your turn to turn inward courageously, to listen deeply, to honor fully everything your shadow has been patiently trying to show you. Because within your shadow lies not only your pain, but your greatest healing, your greatest strength, your greatest authenticity, your greatest self. The path Jung revealed isn't about transcending your darkness. It's about integrating it fully, courageously, compassionately. And on the other side of this integration, there awaits a life more profound, more authentic, more deeply alive than you've ever imagined possible. Once you've truly opened yourself to your shadow, embraced its messages, integrated its hidden wisdom, you begin to experience life differently. It's as if your entire existence shifts into sharper focus, vibrant color, deeper meaning. You're no longer divided against yourself, no longer living a life constructed around the exhausting effort to hide, suppress, or deny parts of who you truly are. Instead, you move through the world fully embodied, authentically aligned, profoundly whole. Carl Jung described this transformation as individuation, the lifelong journey toward becoming who you truly are. Individuation isn't about achieving perfection or eliminating all struggles. It's the opposite. It's about embracing your imperfections, integrating your contradictions, and honoring your humanity fully, without reservation or shame. This process isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming yourself completely, perhaps for the first time in your life. You finally realize your authenticity isn't something to earn or prove. It's something you reclaim, moment by moment, choice by choice, shadow integration by shadow integration. As you continue this journey, you experience a profound sense of internal harmony. The constant inner conflicts you've battled for years begin to quiet. You no longer fight yourself, your conscious desires against your unconscious compulsions, your public persona against your private truth. You begin living from one clear, coherent self, powerful, compassionate, wise, and deeply human. Relationships become authentic, transparent, and nourishing. You no longer approach connections from a place of fear, insecurity, or hidden agendas. Instead, you enter relationships consciously, knowing clearly what you desire, what you deserve, and what you're willing to give. You set boundaries not from anger or defensiveness, but from deep self-respect. You express your truth directly, vulnerably, courageously, not because it's easy, but because it's the only path to genuine intimacy and connection. Your creativity transforms dramatically. Integrating your shadow frees immense creative energy, as all the emotional and psychological effort you once used to suppress yourself becomes available for expression. Your art, your work, your innovations emerge from authenticity, passion, and clarity, not from compulsion, insecurity, or the desperate need for approval. You create not to validate your worth, but to express your deepest truths and highest potential. Even your relationship to life itself transforms. Challenges no longer feel overwhelming. They feel purposeful, meaningful, and aligned. You're no longer a victim of your circumstances. You become a conscious co-creator of your experiences. Your resilience increases dramatically, not because you avoid pain, but because you trust your capacity to face pain courageously and consciously. You know clearly that life's difficulties aren't punishment. They're opportunities for deeper growth, deeper integration, deeper healing. This newfound wholeness doesn't make you invulnerable. You're still human, still capable of hurt, grief, anger, and fear. But your relationship to these emotions changes profoundly. You no longer see them as flaws or weaknesses. You honor them as sacred, valid parts of your human experience. You no longer hide or numb your emotions. You feel them fully, allowing them to guide you toward greater insight, deeper authenticity, and true emotional mastery. Physically, you feel healthier, stronger, more energized, not because you've eliminated all stress, but because you're no longer holding unresolved tension, repressed emotions, or suppressed truths in your body. Your nervous system relaxes deeply, your breath flows freely, your energy expands powerfully. You honor your body intuitively, not from external rules or expectations, but from deep self-awareness and compassionate listening. Spiritually, your journey deepens profoundly. Integrating your shadow reveals your inherent interconnectedness, not just to your own inner self, but to all life. You realize deeply that your humanity isn't separate from your spirituality, it's the very heart of it. You stop seeking external validation from spiritual practices and instead cultivate internal alignment, genuine compassion, and authentic presence. Your spirituality becomes real, not a performance or escape, but a lived experience of profound interconnectedness and wholeness. This wholeness heals not only you but contributes profoundly to collective healing. Jung understood clearly that integrating your personal shadow has powerful ripple effects throughout society. Your courage to live authentically inspires others to reclaim their own authenticity. Your compassion toward your own darkness fosters compassion toward others. Your clarity, your boundaries, your wisdom ripple outward, creating more conscious communities, healthier relationships, and ultimately, a more compassionate world. By healing yourself, you become a catalyst for collective healing, not through preaching or persuasion, but simply by embodying authentic wholeness. Your very presence inspires others to embrace their shadows, to face their truths, and to reclaim their authenticity. You become a living testament to the transformative power Jung devoted his life to teaching, the profound healing potential within the shadow self. This isn't an easy path, but it's profoundly meaningful. It's the path Jung called the ultimate purpose of human existence, not to transcend humanity, but to fully embrace it, not to avoid darkness, but to integrate it deeply, not to live perfectly, but to live authentically, courageously, compassionately. As you continue this journey, you realize clearly that your shadow isn't something you integrate once and move past. It's a lifelong companion, a powerful ally guiding you back to your truth whenever you drift into old patterns or forget your authenticity. Your shadow remains your greatest teacher, reminding you always to honor your wholeness, your humanity, and your deepest truths. This realization transforms your entire relationship to yourself. You no longer see yourself as broken or flawed. You recognize yourself as deeply, beautifully human, and unquestionably worthy. Your self-worth becomes unshakable, not because you achieve perfection, but because you finally embraced imperfection as sacred. You stop performing for external validation because you've reclaimed internal alignment. Carl Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Integrating your shadow empowers precisely this choice. It frees you from unconscious compulsions, unresolved wounds, and external expectations. It returns your power to choose consciously, deliberately, authentically. You become the author of your own story, not driven by unconscious pain, but guided by conscious clarity and genuine self-love. This profound healing, the deep wholeness Jung devoted his life to teaching, is available to you now, waiting patiently within your shadow. It awaits your courage, your compassion, your honesty. It invites you not to perfection, but to authenticity. Not to a painless life, but to a meaningful one. And on the other side of this courageous journey awaits a life more powerful, more genuine, more profoundly healing than you've ever imagined possible. Your shadow, fully embraced, becomes your greatest source of strength, wisdom, and genuine freedom. It's time now to step fully into this truth, to reclaim all you are, to live consciously, authentically, and fully integrated. Subscribe to the Awakened Compass and join our membership to unlock the full journey within.